Good afternoon, everybody. We're excited to be here today. And I'm excited because there's a couple of exciting things happening, as always. But today I get to interview Diana, who is on the Call to Peace Ministry staff. And I've never done an interview with her alone before. So I'm really looking forward to that. She is a very, very valuable member of our staff that does all of our financials. So I will let her introduce herself and tell more about what she does.
Hi, well, I'm so excited to be here on YouTube. Oh no. I'm the financial administrator for Call to Peace Ministries, and with that, I also get to steward the emergency fund. And this is kind of where the topic comes that I'm passionate about this topic that we'll talk about today, post-separation abuse, and it's something that I hope we can talk some more about in the future.
Yes. We hope to continue this education. Diana came with me with this idea of this would be such a great topic to have and to discuss, just because so many times people think, okay, it's just getting through the abuse, getting them out, getting to safety. And it is, that's important. That's where your body can begin to heal and you begin to live in peace. But a lot of times abuse does not stop just because you are separated or divorced. It doesn't end. You continue to deal with what we call post-separation abuse. And so today we're going to be talking about navigating that. And that's a conversation we've never had here before. So I'm really excited to share this information. And I have to say, of everybody I've ever interviewed here, Diana is the most prepared. I'm like, this is why she does the finances at Call to Peace. I mean, it's amazing. She's got the PowerPoints and everything. And so I am so excited to learn from her today myself, and looking forward to hearing her. You'll just love her. She's a wealth of knowledge and such a compassionate individual. So I'm excited. You ready to get started, Diana?
Yes.
All right. And do you want to put your slides back on underneath?
Yes.
Here. Awesome. They're there. Okay. So you'll get to see them in just a minute. So let's start with Diana. What is post-separation abuse?
Yes. So while we jump in here, let me just start by saying that most of this information we share today is I'm so sorry for that. Is referenced on these two articles that I'm sharing here. There is a lot of research going on actually since 2018 about this topic of post-separation abuse. And so I just want to let you know, this is not this coming, I'm just not making this up. This is coming from excellent qualitative research that's out there, and you could reference those articles there. So let's jump into definition. And this definition is from one of these research articles. So this is the ongoing willful pattern of intimidation from a former intimate partner. It includes things like legal abuse, economic abuse, threats, endangerment to children, isolation, discrediting her, specifically harassment and stalking. Violent and non-violent tactics are used to dominate the former intimate partner and deprive them, or attempt to deprive them, of their free will. That's a loaded definition, but that is what that's what we're dealing with here. This is post-separation abuse. You see some of the same common tactics that were in while the relationship was together. You see some of those same tactics that were used. Yes. But now she's free. She's out from under his, they're not sharing a house together, right? But he still finds ways to continue that control, that domination that was evident in the relationship previous. So what are commitments here, right? So first, you have to have the intimate violence, that abuse.
Do you want to grab? Oh, so sorry. I was gonna say, do you want to grab your headphones really quick and let's just try this? We put them on. I was like, let's not do that one. Then I was like, wait, let's do that so we can hear you clearly, because this is so good. And I just wanted to say, she's going to get into some more information on it. People are probably like, why would he still be abusive? And a lot of times, after abuse, they still view you as a piece of property, especially when you have children connected to this person. They still want to maintain control over the children, and they still want to maintain control over you. And it doesn't just stop because the marriage ends. And so that's kind of, just want to say a little bit of reason. So, all right, Diana, let's back to you now.
Yes, and the reason why it doesn't end is because he needs a change of heart, right? This is a sinful pattern of behaviors. There's that important concept of a pattern of behaviors, and so it doesn't change unless he changes, right? He has to make the choice to change and to stop those behaviors. So the previous dynamic of intimate partner violence and coercive control, right? There's a requirement. He needs to have some kind of power. Let me start by saying he. Okay, we know that both genders are capable of this. It's just the evidence and the statistics are overwhelmingly that that the woman, it tends to be the victim of this type of abuse much more than a man. And one of the reasons is because of this position of power, right? Is that a man is usually in a more powerful position through many different reasons, either in his home and in society, right? Then we also need this opportunity. I'm going to use this word, a shared entity. Okay, most likely these are children, right? Whenever you have shared custody arrangements, that's, you're still connected with that person through the children. It can be other things like an asset. It could be medical care. It can be other things, but the research is, I think, exclusively what I've seen. The research is with the children being that shared entity. Not a great word, but that's what I've chosen to use today. So as we keep going, I know we don't need to rush, but we're going to be mindful of the time here. Here are some potential consequences that can happen with this, right? They say that the dangerous time for a woman is when she's fleeing, is when she's leaving. So lethality can be one of the consequences. For the children involved, you have additional ACEs. Now, an ACE is an adverse childhood experience. These are clear markers that are used, especially when counseling children and social work with children. So, of course, with the children involved, they can have additional experiences that are harmful to them. Additional health issues, child custody issues, losing custody. Economic hardship, and again, we get this idea of continuing to be entrapped. That the same kind of evidence, the same dynamics that were at play, even though she's out, she's done her best to get safe and away from the abuse, but he's still trying to gain that control, that entrapment of her. I think we'll stop there for a second. Lauren, go ahead.
Yes, I guess you can take your headphones off because it's still echoing. That way you can. Sorry, Diana, we're having a little echo day, but y'all can still hear it just great. So it's just great information. Thank you for sharing that. And so this gets me all curious. I'm like, wow, this is so real. So many women experience this. And so can you give me some examples of this?
Yes, I will. And just to read this last quote here. So intimate violence and post-separation abuse has to be understood through the assault on the personhood, right? These are not just one-off conflicts. This is a pattern of assaulting her personhood and who she is as a person, her dignity, her autonomy, that freedom that we have as individuals, even the concept like liberty and self-worth. Right? This is not just terms of the physical abuses that sometimes it leaves, right? And we know that abuse isn't just physical. There are many different kinds of abuse. So I thought that was a great quote coming right from the research here. All right, let's look at some examples.
Oh, Diana?
Yes.
Computer. I'm going to turn me off and see if that's me, but it sounds like it's getting a little bit staticky. Sorry, let me turn my mute off.
Okay, we'll keep going here. So,
oh, sorry, it's underwater. I can't. Do you want to try the headphones off? I am so sorry, everybody. I apologize. I don't know what has happened here.
And you know what, Lauren? I wasn't hearing it when you were on. I was not hearing it.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go back on mute. sorry. If somebody is watching this, could you give us a comment if you are struggling with hearing this? That would be great. And I'm gonna let you just go through it and I'll put myself on mute.
Sure. Okay, so let's look at some examples of this. So you see my little Venn diagram. I was a teacher in a previous life, and so I love visuals here. So we have the survivor. Okay, she is separate now. She is not living with her abuser, so they are separated entities. But then you have that shared entity again. Most commonly, the children. That they're sharing. And so the abuser is going to continue his power over dynamic, continuing to try to dominate her, and will use whatever shared things they have in common to do so. Okay, so things like custody, right? The vast majority of quote unquote high conflict custody cases in the courtroom are because of this dynamic of power, post separation abuse. These are your high conflict divorces, and high conflict custody battles are because of this post separation abuse. And it doesn't matter how much custody the abuser has. If it's 90-10, one way or the other, if he gets to see them on Christmas or over the summer, he'll find a way to try to get to the survivor through the children. The next one is financial reliance. We see this a lot with the emergency fund. Many of the women who come needing help from the emergency fund, it's because he's not paying his child support. The court has ordered specific amount to be paid to her, and he's just refusing to do it. And he knows that what does she have to do? She has to go through the legal system, has to take him to court, which costs a lot of money, as a lot of us know, to get the amount that he owes. And so this is a real problem. If you're listening to this and any of this relates to you, let us know. That I understand that this will be publicly shared, so please be aware of your safety, and only share what you wouldn't mind that gets out to the public. Shared resources, things like insurance coverage, and even for the children. If a lot of custody arrangements might have the father who maybe has a better paying job, so his job is to cover the insurance costs for the children, but then he can use that as a power play, and use it to punish her in different ways. Maybe she is currently in the marital home. Maybe he was the one that was ordered to leave, but perhaps the home is still in both of their names, or he still has the key to the home. So there's lots of ways that whatever those shared entities are, he'll find ways to get at her through that. Shared relationships. Many survivors talk about even Facebook friends, and how he would stalk her through the Facebook friends to get information. Friends at church. Maybe they still go to the same church, or they still have some of the same circles. So even with these shared relationships, he can try to harass her and affect her life. And then even something like knowledge, like knowing her schedule, knowing things about her, he can find ways to again try to get some control there. And then we said that opportunity was one of the research that showed that an opportunity is needed, right? So it's not just the power that he has, but an opportunity to display that power. This is very common during custody exchanges. It could just be a message that he announces while they're exchanging children. There was a situation a few years back where there's an advocate that was involved in our ministry who was violently assaulted and is still recovering from the injuries right in front of the boys that they were exchanging. So those custody exchanges, again, if he still has that heart and that lust to have power and control over her, he'll find ways to do it during custody exchanges. Any kind of court involvement, the research was so clear that there's a lot of this with the legal involvement, that he uses the court system to get at her, whether it's trying to whittle away the parenting time that she has with the kids, to affect her financially. We all know how expensive court is and that whole legal process. So these are very common opportunities that he has and can utilize to abuse her further, even when she's apart. School events, sporting events, right? Both parents want to be at the child's baseball game, right? But if you know he's going to be there, he's going to try to use those opportunities to affect that relationship with the kids. Even church activities. If we have any people helpers or pastors tuning in today, please be aware that this dynamic is alive in your church, the possibility of this, and really need to think through how to keep her safe even after she's out of the home with him. Things like medical and counseling appointments, even bad-mouthing the children's doctor, bad-mouthing the mom to the children's doctor. Those kinds of things are common things. Family gatherings, and then we mentioned already social media. Technology is a big aspect of stalking, and that can be done through, if you have the same phone carrier, if he might have access to your email or passwords. There's a lot during that technology, unfortunately, is a tool that can harm in this case. Any comments or things to discuss, Lauren, before we keep moving?
No, everything is great. I think I figured out my issue, so thank you. No, I'm blown away by all of this, and this is really helpful knowledge. So I appreciate you creating this. So, well, can you share some statistics with us as well about this? Like, how many women are impacted by this?
Yes, so nice of you to ask that question, because I am just prepared to answer it. So in fact, and this is kind of like our Protect the Flock presentations, is that we kind of front load with the seriousness of the issues. And these are real issues, but please don't lose hope. Don't say, this is too hard for me to hear and then leave. Of course, if you need to do that, if you're being triggered at all, please do leave and come back and listen to the recording when you can. But there is hope on the other end. We're going to talk about wise responses here in just a moment. So 90%, the research is clear that up to 90% of women who have experienced intimate partner violence and coercive control in their intimate relationship, that dynamic will continue outside of that. Again, this does not mean, maybe some of you are listening today and you have a plan that you're ready. You're ready to take that step. You have your network around you. Maybe you have a Call to Peace advocate working with you, and you are ready to get out from under the abuse. And this is just really devastating you to know this. Please know that your network will continue to support you and to help you through this. And it's better to be prepared than to be blindsided by it. So that's my motivation in wanting to talk about this today, is to help prepare those of you that are planning and working towards getting out and getting safe. It's a big stat. Nearly 100% of those that have experienced domestic abuse an aspect of economic abuse is involved in that. And I think we understand that from the legal system and other things. This is kind of scary. In the US, in our country, more than half of the women who were killed, femicide, right, was perpetrated by a former or current intimate partner. That's a big stat. And during the COVID pandemic, that was increased to nearly to 74%. And this is a stat from the FBI. I mentioned our emergency fund recipients. The vast majority of them definitely have an aspect of post-separation abuse that's contributing to their financial crisis. It's so common, to drain our financial resources through the divorce or through the legal separation or to get safe, right? And then to be blindsided by these additional economic impacts can be very, very, very hard to go through that. And this was sad. I share 4 children with my ex-husband, and this is a hard thing to see, that the high rates of suicidality among the children that are involved in this kind of dynamic. So we know it's not good for the children. The courts are behind, as we all know. Some are making strides. Some lawyers are really learning and coming to terms about these high conflict cases, right? And they're learning that there's more to it than just a leveling of the playing field. And so there is hope. There is hope here. So one of the great tools, this is the Delus Model. We're familiar with a number of their wheels. They have a post-separation wheel. Due to time, we won't spend a lot of time with these. I've kind of been speaking about some of the dynamics here, but this is a great tool if you'd like to learn more. The website is at the top here, the delusmodel.org, and various number of wheels they have there just to see more of the dynamic of what's at play. But those spokes here, just to run through those, undermining, so starting here on the side, undermining her ability to parent. We see that a lot, even just talking bad about her to the children. And again, this is, they're out, they're separated. And so these dynamics are still happening. Harassment and intimidation. Still using physical and sexual violence against the mother during exchange times, even the children. Sometimes the children are more at risk of further abuse when she is safe. And honestly, that's something that keeps a lot of moms from leaving and getting safe herself, is because she's concerned about the children. And so we'll talk about some ideas to respond to this in just a minute here. Disrupting her relationship with the children. This can happen through phone time. This can happen all different sorts of ways. But the children, again, are being used as pawns, as the middle point here. The bottom of the wheel over here, disregarding the children. There's lots of ways that he just chooses not to father well, perhaps, and just disregarding their needs, and then when it comes time for her parenting time, that they're out of control. They're struggling, right, to handle the relationship, the back and forth. Endangering the children, withholding financial support. Again, we see that a lot with child support payments, and then discrediting her as a mother. So you can, again, go to the delusmodel.org to see some more of the patterns of behaviors that are common that have been surveyed. So then what are we supposed to do about it, right? What are some God-honoring responses to this continued abuse? So just a note here. So I'm going to talk about a couple points here for survivors, and then the next slide has a couple points for people helpers. If you're a counselor, if you're an advocate, if you're a pastor tuning in, if you're a family member of someone you love that you know is dealing with this. So being there myself, this is something that's really helped me, is this first point. And it's hard and it takes time. This is not something that just you could snap your fingers and it happens, right? But the closer your expectations are to what's really going on in your story, the more healthy you'll be able to assess your situation and act, right? This is kind of, as we get out of the victim mindset that it's so naturally to get stuck in, right? I've been there. I've been stuck there before. We want our expectations in reality to be as close as possible. Right? That way we can truly see the dynamic of what's going on and we can respond in a healthy way. Second point, we need firm boundaries. These are internal boundaries to us, right? And then also external boundaries, especially for many cases an ex-husband that we're still having to parallel parent or co-parent with, right? We need to make sure that we have very, very good boundaries. Maybe we can develop some examples of that in the future. Here's a big thing that's very important, is consistent record keeping. Because when you consistently are keeping good records, you begin to really see that this is a pattern. These are not one-off things that are happening. Maybe it's games with phone time. Most parenting plans have certain days that phone calls can happen. And maybe you're starting to see that a certain pattern is coming with that, right? An easy way to do that is just if you have a Google Calendar, or maybe you have a day timer, that you can just jot a little note. Maybe you come up with your own little code if you need to keep that secret, right? Of different behaviors and different things that you're seeing. And why is that important? Because when and if it does come to a day in court, you have clear evidence for the judge. You have a story that can be told. Your lawyer can tell the story with evidence that you have been collecting. Point 4 is to be patient and be prepared. And this is so hard. It's so hard when, let's just say, one weekend, you're supposed to have parenting time and he withholds the children. It's wrong. It's against your parenting time, but you can't act on just that one event. The judge and the courts need to see a pattern of events to lay the groundwork. So be patient. We know it's hard. These are grueling things, especially when it comes to dealing with our children, right? We want to be the mama bear and jump in and act. But a lot of times the most important action is to be patient, to be prepared, and to slow down, collect that evidence. Next talks about our parenting plan. Those of you that have a parenting plan, you need to live by it. Especially with this, if you know that your ex is still trying to control the situation and to get at you, you have to stick with the parenting plan. Be careful if you're being flexible with it, because just like, you have to abide by the parenting plan and he does too. That's the rule book. If you don't need to memorize it, memorize it. But we really urge you to stick with your parenting plan. We could talk briefly about yellow and gray rock. So gray rock is where you're flatlined emotionally with the toxic person in your life. So let's just say this is your co-parent. You can just flatline emotionally, right? But that was hard. I tried gray rocking for a time, and as you could see, I'm a pretty cheerful person, and that was very hard for me to do. And my children were actually seeing a difference in my behavior and were asking me, well, why are you acting like that? Right? So I would encourage you to pick the version that's more naturally to you. Yellow rock is that you stay positive. You're a naturally positive person. You're naturally happy. And so you can flatline. Instead of flatlining as no emotion, you could flatline as happy. And whenever you're interacting with that person, you're a happy person because you're normally happy. And that
I like that one.
Go ahead.
As I'm saying, I like that one. You can just be the happy person all the time.
And it helps you when you are being yourself. It's hard for you. It was hard for me as a happy person to have to try to be a Scrooge and to not smile. And so when I allowed myself to smile with my co-parent, then it helped me to. So whatever's most natural to you, you pick the one that's natural. Next one, and I'll just kind of speed up through here because we're kind of running out of time, I think. But we want to respond. We don't want to react. When we react in the moment, it's going to be loaded with emotion, right? We're going to be acting in our brainstem, right? We don't want to do that. We want our prefrontal cortex to plug in so that we can respond wisely to when these things are happening. A quick little cross-sticks that, again, I think this is being recorded, and so don't worry about jotting these down. You'll have access to these slides. But we don't want to jade, but we want to be Biff. Okay, jade is justify, argue, defend, or explain. Don't jade with your co-parent. Okay, but be Biff. Be brief. Be informative. Be friendly. There's that yellow rock, and be firm. There's your boundaries. Okay. Great little acrostics there. Keep a legal fund. So important. And maybe you're thinking, man, I can't even pay the bills. How am I supposed to have a legal fund? Whenever you can. If it's $1 a paycheck, do that. If you could put away a couple $100 a paycheck, do that. But be prepared. Until your youngest that you're sharing with your co-parent is 18, at least in Georgia, it's 18. So know what the laws are in your state, but I would encourage you to have a legal fund as much as you can set that aside to be prepared. A lot of lawyers these days will have a payment plan. They'll usually want some kind of amount up front, and then they'll put you on a payment plan. So try to find a lawyer that can help you with that. And then just to turn, to some spiritual encouragement here, just to know the Lord is with you. He sees you. It might feel like he's far away, but he's not. He knows what injustice is. Think about Jesus and how he took on my sin. When he was on the cross, he took on my sin. Think about that injustice. He paid the penalty for my sin. He knows what injustice is, right? So know that he's with you. He will give you the strength to prudently respond. We want to be prudent here. It says in Proverbs 27:12, the prudent sees danger and takes refuge, but the simple keep going on and pay the penalty. Okay, so we want to be prudent. We want to foresee this danger and look for ways to take refuge. And then 2 Timothy 1:7 says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and of self-control. We want to take these biblical truths and anchor to them as we're continuing to go through these hard things. And then lastly, ministry leaders and people helpers. What can you do to help? First of all, believe her. Look at the stat. Only 2 to 8% of abuse reports are false. That's it. So if she's coming to you with something, believe her. Number 2, don't be naive to the evil that's out there. And yes, we definitely want her to go to the authorities. We want her to do that. But understand that sometimes the police and the courts, there isn't always justice there. Many women can tell you about the custody battles and how it didn't end up in the way that justice should have ended up. So just be aware that once it's in the hands of the courts, there isn't really much control. And so the guardian ad litem's, the lawyers, the judges, they don't always get training. They rarely get training in these kinds of dynamics. So just to be aware of that. Equip her to make her own decisions. We never want to tell someone what to do. We want to help her think through her options and what things that she can do. Let her know that she's loved in your church, in the neighborhood, wherever you see her. Have a warm smile and a firm handshake for her. Look her in the eyes and let her know that you see her. What practical needs does she have? Maybe you have a food pantry that you can invite her to, or you know of someone, a woman with bags full of clothes that can be donated that can help with her for her children. So whatever your women's ministry maybe can help to prepare a meal every now and then to help. Very important just to let her know that you're on her side. There's this idea out there that we don't want to take sides, but this is a time to take a side. You can see the injustice going on in her life, so take a side. Let her know that you are on her side and that you will stand with her and support her. And then this is really important too, to really vet those that you might refer out to. Maybe you see in your counseling practice that the dynamics that she's dealing with is too much that you're trained to deal with, so you refer her out. Really vet carefully your referrals, that they understand that these dynamics and that they're trauma informed. And then understand that justice is not always served in family court. We want to think America, land of the free, home of the brave. Yes, it is, right? But justice is not always in family court. I won't park on that. I kind of want to, but maybe another time we could talk some more about that. And then lastly, we have an amazing advocacy course that will walk people helpers through. If you have a heart for this, maybe you're a survivor yourself and you want to be able to help others to navigate post-separation abuse, you will be trained so well in our advocacy course. Enrollment is rolling, so you can join all throughout the year. And we'd love to talk to you more about that.
Wow, Diana, that is awesome. I learned so much today, and it was very validating too, to kind of hear some of these things. And I think so many women, when you've lived in abuse and then you come out, it's really hard sometimes to recognize even post separation abuse and that you're going through that, or what all that looks like. So I hope for women listening today, this was validating and kind of gave you an idea of something to walk away with, of being able to how to respond to abuse, post separation abuse. I love the one where he's like, be your cheerful self. Sometimes we think, oh, that means being harsh and cold when I gray walk or whatever it is. But I love the idea of still being your cheerful self, and your children need that as well. And so, thank you. And also, I think today we were going to talk a little bit about donor led funding. Do you want to share about that too as well?
Yes, yes. So we have some wonderful ways for you to engage. Lauren, do you want to mute? Thank you. We have some great ways for you to engage this fall. So we're in August already, right? September and October. Not only is it football season for those of us who love football, it is also DVAM is right around the corner. So Domestic Violence Awareness Month is in October, and we will have another opportunity to engage in crowdfunding. And crowdfunding is what is crowdfunding? Crowdfunding is the way for you to use your voice, you to use your circles, your friends, your social media to get out the word about the dynamic of domestic abuse, how to jump in and be involved. And so we are looking for an army of crowdfunders, and we'll be sharing more information soon about that. But we are really hoping that you will dive in with us, and it's as easy as sharing the things that Lauren works so hard. Lauren and her team, they do excellent materials throughout the month of October, and will be things that you could just press that share button and share the things that our team is creating. Very easy to do. So keep in touch with us and look for announcements on how to do that. And then we also have a new thing that we are developing. And I beta tested this back in July for my birthday. I did my own little mini crowdfunding campaign to raise $470 for my 47th birthday. And I think I raised like $450, but it was great. It was a nice little thing. Just put it on my Facebook page with my own link for folks to donate right to Call to Peace Ministries. And it was a great way, again, to use my voice to raise some awareness about this issue. So lots of ways for you to engage if you're looking to use your voice and come alongside and help us raise some funds for the work that we do.
That is awesome. I'm super excited about that opportunity. It's so amazing to be able to get back to a ministry and to be part of the work that God is doing. And one of the things I love about giving is that it really transforms our hearts. And so I love DVAM because it's an opportunity to be involved and be engaged, and to set our hearts on things of eternity, and to watch our hearts be transformed as we see women's lives redeemed and know that we were part of that redemption. Like, we partnered together to make that happen. And I don't know, to me, that's just, I love that aspect of being able to see lives transformed on both sides of that, and partnering people together to rescue women coming out of domestic abuse. So thank you so much for everything you shared today. Like I said, learned so much. And so I would recommend everybody go back, rewatch it, and look at the slides and learn things. And Diana will be back again. We will be sharing hopefully in November for Family Court Awareness Month, and doing more of a focus on post-separation abuse. So mark your calendars. That's going to be awesome. And just kind of, we really want to equip, encourage our followers to continue to walk in wholeness and healing after abuse. And so if there's ever a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, you're welcome to inbox us, and we would love to hear from you. So thank you for everybody who joined us. And thank you so much, Diana. Thank you for this. You put so much work and effort into this, and I was just blown away by everything that you had organized and put together. The Lord knew what he was doing, because my computer had a glitch today. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate you and all your hard work.